Welcome to the Sci-Fi Navigator audio commentary for Stargate SG-1 Episode 1, Children of the Gods. This is Prime, and with me is...
Fohammer.
This is an audio commentary, so you will need your own video if you want to watch with us.
Momentarily, I will be giving a countdown. Zero your video. Make sure that you start the video when I say go. Netflix has the same version, so I recommend using that. Warning, there is nudity in this episode. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, there's the MGM line. And here is our first shot. And this is the set that would become the embarkation room, or the gate room. What do you think about this set?
Right now, it would appear that it's a storage facility of some kind.
Yeah. Yeah, the airmen here are doing a little malingering. They're hiding out. I'm sure that, you're familiar with this.
Oh yeah, they're shirking off their duties right now.
Oh yeah, what's that in the background? That is the Stargate.
I mean, I really can't tell. It's covered by a very thin veil, so...
Yep. Where'd they get all this stuff, though? Like, did they steal that from the dining facility?
So they had it all constructed for the first episode. The first movie. It was shipped off to a storage facility in Hollywood, and it took them about 6 months to track it down.
Oh, the actual set stuff. Okay, I was talking about like their dying props that they were eating, their chip bowl and all that.
Oh, yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah, she's going up to the gate, and ooh, we got some activity.
I wonder what could possibly be coming through.
I guess we're gonna have to find out. And we got some spinning action on the gate. That's always cool. I like to see like a dynamic prop, with lights and movement and stuff like that. It's always good to... Oh, he's got a red phone.
They do build one of those later.
They build one what?
A more dynamic prop.
Oh, okay. We'll have to look for that when it comes up. The guns they pulled out, they were just like sitting there, unsecured, like under this tarp. Why do they have weapons just unsecured?
They would never leave a weapon like that unsecured.
No.
It is such a safety issue.
Yeah, even if no one else was in the facility, they would still have them locked up. Is this really a good idea to go up to try to touch the event horizon?
No, not when you don't know what it does.
No, not at all. And we just got like some kind of sensor device tossed through the wormhole. Yeah, they're telling you don't touch it. Like, what are you doing, lady? What if it was a grenade?
We do see a stun grenade later on in the series.
That's true. That's true. And then now that's our first shot of the Serpent Guard. What do you think of the Serpent Guard costume?
It is one of the most iconic things ever used in Stargate, other than the P90.
Yeah, they disappear like around like season 6 or something like that. Like we never see like these Serpent Guard costumes.
That is because the god they serve, Apophis, is dead.
But we still see Serpent Guards later on, like after Apophis dies. Oh, spoiler alert for anyone watching. There's a gold hand device. It's very bling. Like the gold, they enjoy their style.
Yes, they do. And it shows their personality characteristics, extreme narcissism being the main one. And
Absolutely.
Later, we find out why.
Yeah, see, I was going to say the M4s here are not doing a good job at all with these Serpent Guards, but later on we're going to see like MP5s have no problem with them.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
No, it doesn't.
These M4s are using XM195.
Yeah.
55 grain projectiles, they would be ripping right through that armor plating. Or at least they would be doing a better job than 9mm.
Yeah.
This was a nuclear testing facility. And those blastors can withstand, I believe, a 3 megaton warhead. I believe that is touched on later. And here we see General Hammond. The music is amazing as well. The score works perfectly with everything that's going on in the episode. I think that they should have used Frank Colpactry, who authored the score for the Command and Conquer, Red Alert 2, and Red Alert 3 series, as well as doing the original Dune soundtrack.
And here we got Major Samuels, who is a total weasel. He's like a total like Weasley officer. He's just one of the worst.
Well, at first he is. Later on in the show, he's very
No,
amicable.
no, he's not that I recall. I think he's a weasel through the whole series for what he's in.
His character is replaced by Melbourne for being the Weasel. Later,
Oh yeah,
later he goes to bat for the SG program.
and that yeah. Here's a cool shot of O'Neill stargazing.
And they're talking about the history of the Stargate program here.
Got a little callback to the movie.
Yep.
And what do you think of Richard Dean Anderson as Jack O'Neill?
He plays the role perfectly.
He does. He's totally different from Kurt Russell, though. They really should have made him a different character completely because in the movie, Kurt Russell is very stoic and like man of few words, and Richard Dean Anderson's O'Neill is completely different.
He brings light to a lot of situations and
He does,
gives
yeah.
that little break in the action that's really needed from going from a high intensity scene to coming back to a more relaxed environment, the SGC in this case.
Yep.
And he'll crack a joke or something that just kind of relieves some of that tension.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You don't want the audience to be all amped up the entire way
Yeah.
through the episode. They need that break because the highs feel high and the lows feel low then.
Right. And it just kind of endears you to the character. You know, we're going to spend a lot of time with him, and we want this to be a likable character, even if he is kind of gruff and he doesn't like scientists at all, which I think he like softens up. But
Later in the show, he does soften up with that view. In fact, in this episode, he does when he figures out that he has a thing for Major Carter.
Hmm.
It's said in the alternate universes that as soon as Colonel O'Neill and Major Carter see each other, it is love at first sight. And we see that here as well, but they have the regulations of him being
Nah,
her superior officer.
and I don't know if it's quite from the beginning, but
They mention it in the alternative universes
yeah.
that it is.
Well, yeah, the alternate that's a completely different universe, though.
And the reason why it isn't the same here is because of the military regulations that they have.
Yeah, did you see this Jaffa? He's wearing a First Prime golden crest on his forehead.
Which he shouldn't have.
No.
That was kind of a little oopsie daisies.
Yep. Back when they were still kind of figuring out
How everything works.
the series. Hmm.
And here's another callback. We see that O'Neill is familiar with this weapon.
Yes, because he used them in the movie.
And we get the a little bit of a strange sound from it that they took from Red Alert.
Did they? The game?
Yes. So they used the sound of a Tesla coil spooling up, changed it, they deepened it, and then they put it into the staff weapon.
It's a cool sound, though.
It is.
There's kind of like some tension between these two. I mean, later on in the series, they have like massive respect for each other, but I like this kind of tension that they have.
It is very good that they included this.
Like it's not just like an immediate because O'Neill is kind of like a second in command, like as close as the show gets to it, and it's good to have like some tension between the two leadership roles.
Exactly. I would consider him to be the executive officer, even when he is not on base. He's kind of that ready to shoo into the position and run the facility in case of General Hammond leaving.
Right.
Permanently or temporarily, as we see later in the show. Yeah, so the reason why they did that was because it was distracting to the viewers. The constant coughing and sneezing just kind of started grating on the audience. Because it was funny for the first few episodes, and then it just sort of became like an overused joke.
Yeah, for sure. And with the stuff they get out, the exposition they get out in this episode, you really don't need to have seen the movie. It's probably better if you don't.
It's a very good breakdown. The movie was not bad for it being a movie, but for it being a part of the Stargate universe, it was horrible.
Yeah. And Ferretti and Kowalski, they're played by different actors, but they are characters from the movie as well.
Yes. And right here, they're referring to their MALP for the first time.
Yep.
Which is completely a complete prototype. It's completely new technology at the time.
Yeah, and this is not what. Let's see. Well, that's the warhead. Actually, that's not the probe.
No, the probe comes later. They're referring to the probe,
Right.
though.
Yeah, we don't see the MALP for like a couple episodes or so, I think.
I believe it's 4 or 5 episodes.
This is it. This is a Mark V nuclear warhead.
And they explain how much yield it has and all of that, which really means very little.
Yeah.
But what Hammond is doing here is absolutely abhorrent. He's
Yeah.
threatening to hold an entire planet hostage to interrogate former Colonel O'Neill. If you don't answer, I'm going to blow up this planet. That is the threat here.
Yeah, and then after he discloses the information, he still considers using the bomb anyway.
Even though it's complete innocent populace. But
Yeah.
we have special knowledge that they do not as the audience.
Yeah.
Especially if we watch the movie. We know that it's just civilians who rose up and overthrew Ra.
Right. But on the other hand, if you look at it from General Hammond's point of view, there's aliens who came through the gate, and as far as they know, it only goes to Abydos. And these aliens just mop the floor with these guys. So, you know.
And who knows what other technology they have? Who knows
Right.
what else they can do? So, nuke them first, worry about the after effect later.
Exactly.
Now, the other side of things is that even if they did nuke Abydos, there would have been no real consequences.
Yeah. See, there's no real right or wrong in this situation, really, if you think about it, because you could make arguments for both sides. So it's an interesting conflict that they have to set them up with in this first episode.
And it starts off with General Hammond being an absolutely terrible human being. Afterward, you understand his point.
Yes.
And then it makes sense, and it's like, oh, well, I mean, I guess he's not so bad, even though he's threatening to blow up an entire planet.
Right. You wouldn't salute inside anyway, but
No, you would not.
not unless you were in formation.
Or getting an award.
Well, if you were getting an award, you'd be in formation.
That's true.
And this is a cool set. It's just like bare bones, minimalistic.
Yeah, and that's what we'd expect to see in an actual military facility.
Right.
And now they're trying to kind of call back to the movie and play off the movie, which was quite popular at the time.
Yep.
It was well received, and it still is well received. It's just not a good part of this universe. So they're talking about Skara, who was a native kid on Abydos,
Yes.
who assisted them in overthrowing Ra. And
Right.
they formed an attachment. Colonel O'Neill gave him a lighter, a couple other really cool knickknacks.
Yeah, which will be called back later in the episode.
Yes. We will see that in about 10 minutes or so. But this is the first time you see a really quiet conversation that's kind of reserved and kind of has that emotional charge.
Yeah, it's a character moment for sure.
They already started their character development here, which is impressive. Every character in SG-1 had some form of development.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Like the main characters, definitely did.
I mean, even some of the side characters, like the airman that is sitting behind the computer typing in all of the gate addresses.
Yeah, Walter. Yeah, we will
Walter.
come to him momentarily.
He is considered by most to be a very underrated character. He types on a keyboard. We find out later he's ready to retire. But yeah, he's still willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with SG-1 to defend the facility in a couple episodes.
Yeah. Look at that big gun. What kind of gun is that?
That would be a Madus. Browning 50 caliber M2 machine gun.
For sure. With a shield plate. That's interesting.
They actually went with the shield plate because most of the viewers are casuals. They don't really know a ton about firearms and big guns like that. Those shield plates don't actually do all that much, especially against Jaffa weapons.
No.
They are thin sheets of typically level 3 rated armor, which can stop 5.56, 7.62 by 3.9 intermediate cartridges.
Oh, there's Walter.
Yep, we just saw Walter a little bit.
Yep.
Whose
name his name is inconsistent for the first like most of the first season, I think. Like sometimes they call him like Davis, or sometimes they call him Harriman.
They call him Airman or Walter. They were fairly consistent with his name, but not entirely. There were a couple mess ups and gaps.
No, it's not Airman. He's not saying Airman. He's saying Harriman.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think he's even named in this episode. But yeah, his name's Walter though. Everyone knows him as Walter.
Yep, he's Walter. Not Walter White, but Walter. So, General O'Neill, I'm sorry, that's way foreshadowing the future. Colonel O'Neill makes a very good point here. The only thing that could have happened with that is the aliens are blowing their noses with some tissues that he sent through.
Yeah, it was a smart move on O'Neill's part, because, like you said, Daniel's going to know exactly what it means, and no one else is going to have any use for it.
Exactly.
It's not going to give away any intelligence that they wouldn't have known. So,
because by sending a relatively advanced probe, now you have a general understanding of where this civilization falls on a technological slider.
Right.
Oh, they sent a robot through that we can't even build as aliens. Well, they're going to be fairly advanced.
Yeah.
And this is before they understand that gates are one way. That's why everybody's pointing their rifles at the event horizon. These are...
Yep.
Oh, just kidding. It was one that was coming in, not going out.
And we get a response.
A.M. for those who don't know.
Military time. All right. So O'Neill is back on the payroll.
Which is not how it would happen. He would have to go through basic training again, or he would be hired as a contractor. There is no in between.
Well, no, I think he would have to be like retired for like a certain number of years before that to happen, but because he's only been out of the Air Force for like maybe a year at this point.
A little over a year, yeah.
And we get our briefing room with a cool table. I like the table.
The table is not as utilitarian as everything else is. But
No.
here, we see our first look at Samantha Carter.
There we go. Don't salute the colonel when the general's in the room, but
You salute the general. You salute the highest rank in the room, and anybody you come within 6 paces of.
although she wouldn't be saluting inside anyway.
Exactly.
And that was not a very good salute either, I have to say.
Nope. So your hand is goes to your brow. Your arm is completely straight to your elbow. Your elbow is forming a 90-degree angle with the ground. And they don't do that. They just kind of throw their hand up willy-nilly.
Yeah, and here we get into a little part of like the women in the military type thing, which they kind of cut out of the Final Cut version, which I'm glad of, because I don't really think it is really necessary.
And we find out that not only is Sam Carter very beautiful, she is extremely intelligent.
Very intelligent, yes. and very capable as well.
We find that out later during her
And
first combat scene.
she goes through quite the development too, from where she
Yes.
starts here as a captain all the way to the very end of the, even into Stargate Universe, which we're not going to talk about because it's a terrible show. But
Yeah, Stargate Universe doesn't exist. It's like Star Trek Destiny.
Discovery, we're not going to talk about that either.
It's so bad that I don't even remember the name.
Oh, this is a cringe line though. They cut this out of the final cut, which,
Yes.
if it wasn't for doing this, I would never watch the original cut because I think the final cut is far superior. We should maybe we should maybe do a commentary for the final cut as well. It's a little harder to find, like it's not streaming, which is why we're doing it this way, so more people can watch it. But we should do a commentary for the final cut at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. Unfortunately, Samuels is right here. The easiest way to deal with this would be to bury the gate.
No, he's wrong
But-
because O'Neill is about to tell him why he's wrong.
Exactly. So the reason why the Goa'uld attack in the first place is because humans start making themselves into a nuisance.
Yeah.
So had they buried the gate before they even went through, there would have been no issue.
Oh, before the movie, maybe.
No, not so much the movie. Ra was blown up by a nuke, and nobody knew where it came from. Had they buried the gate before Apophis came, which was when it would have been a better solution, there would have been no issue. Earth would have been safe. But it's this mission.
They would have missed out on
so much.
a lot. Yeah. Even the human race goes through a development. They go from basically what we are in the current year to a spacefaring civilization, and that's all because of the Stargate.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The Stargate was the best thing that ever happened to mankind. It just would have been better had it been buried before this even started. Humanity would have been on a better development curve, where our technology advances a little bit slower while we're ready for it. Because I agree, it was a bad decision.
Yeah, so Sam right now is talking about like the energy required to open this wormhole, and she's just blabbing. Well, in like later in the season, they're gonna talk about how it's like $1 million a minute or something like that to keep the Stargate open, and she's just blabbing, yakking,
Casually talking and chatting, like it's the water cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And her acting here doesn't properly convey the sense of awe one would have looking at that.
Probably not, no. But she's not really looking at anything though, so I
understand completely.
Yeah.
The prop is just that.
Yep.
So here we see that they kind of get thrown through the gate. They have ice on their face and all of that. And it's very uncomfortable and
Yeah,
they get rid of.
Talk about later they figure out how to use the gate better, and they will actually talk about that in an episode. They will mention that why they're not just like getting thrown out, because like later in the episode when they get to Chulak, like they really get hurled out the other end. Like It wasn't going to Abydos this time wasn't that bad except for like the freezing, but when they go to Chulak for the first time, they get hurled out. So.
And here we see them using their firearms all wrong. Both the supposed trained soldiers and the militia forces of Abydos. You see them holding them out from their bodies, not bringing them in and shouldering them.
Yeah.
You also see a couple AK-47s, which were not used by the SG teams when they originally went through.
Yeah.
And they offloaded a lot of their gear that they didn't want to take back to Earth, that they quote-unquote lost in the nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever say in the episode why they uncovered the gate, because apparently they did cover the gate, but then they uncovered it. Because Daniel will say later in the episode, like, I never should have uncovered it, but it doesn't say why he did it in the first place. And this is our first appearance of Daniel Jackson, and that was a bad Vulcan salute. There, he just did.
It was very bad. So it should be your thumb, pointer finger, and middle finger together, with a space in between it, and then your ring finger and your pinky.
And we need to have your thumb separate. You need to have your thumb extended because he had his thumb up against his index finger. That's not the way.
Oh, right. Yep, you are correct.
But this is Daniel Jackson. This is her first appearance, who was probably a really good choice if you want to go stay consistent with the movie, because he's a lot like James Spader. Well, it's like even look-wise.
Yes, I do agree. He was a very good choice. For the longest time, I thought that he was the same character that was in the movie, but that was the Mandela effect. It was just me misremembering something.
And we were talking over a line that they cut out of the final cut, which I'm glad, because it's kind of cringy, where she says that we had to MacGyver a system of using the gate. I was like, really? And I think that was ad-libbed, and they kept it in for some reason.
So this is just the uncut version.
Yeah.
And there's 3 different versions. You have this one, you have one that they uploaded on Amazon, which was just the nudity scene removed. And then you had the final cut, which cut out the nudity scene as well. And here we see
shot of the desert.
Hospitable climate that is Abydos.
Yeah. They got their little canoe-shaped drinking vessels. Kind of interesting. And Alexis Cruz was in the movie. He's the only one who did return from the movie.
Yes.
Although Share's father, I think, is in a later episode, who is played by the same guy. Exactly. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken about that. I don't think I am, though.
I believe you're correct. But here Daniel taught them how to make hooch.
Yep.
And in fact, this is a distilled version of a local beverage.
And apparently it's pretty potent.
It would be potent because they don't have the proper water to put in and reduce the ABV.
Sure. Kowalski seems to enjoy it, though.
Yes, that is true.
And so if you listen to the way they talk, they don't use the R sound, because ancient Egyptians did not have like an R sound. So they kind of like keep that, because Egyptian, it turns out, is like based on the Goa'uld language.
Yes.
So they speak that. They speak a form of ancient Egyptian, which they kind of talked about in the movie. But there's no R sound. So when he says O'Neill, he says O'Near, because they don't have an L sound.
Yep.
This is the greatest change. Well, maybe one of the greatest changes was like opening up the entire galaxy using the Stargate, because I think just the Stargate just going to Abydos is a total waste of an opportunity.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. They did it this way so that it was just going to be a movie that was soldiers going to a different planet and fighting an alien. they had to find a way to make that make sense without the alien coming to Earth.
Yeah.
Because you already had aliens versus predators and
Yeah.
aliens and predators. And they wanted something similar, but different.
And it was a cool idea. Like the Stargate idea itself is a brilliant idea.
Exactly. So what do? You start a TV show instead of a movie, and you have
Yeah.
that show where each episode is a new adventure. It's a new
Yep.
mini movie.
Yeah, it sets itself apart from the other science fiction shows out because they don't use a starship, although later they will get starships. But for the first 5.5 seasons, it's just all gate travel, really.
And to be fair, spaceships are kind of moot. You don't really need one.
Yeah, sure.
When you have instantaneous travel from one planet to another, and assuming you have a decent planetary defense force, something you can use to defend your planet from ships,
Yep.
you really don't need them. You just travel here to here, and you can do that.
Yeah, that's why the SG teams still use the Stargate even when they have FTL technology because it's a better way to go.
There are a lot of downsides to using a gate, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
touched on, but not all of them.
That's true.
The biggest downside is the fact that you're going to a known set point on another planet.
Yeah. Although really they could move the gate to a different location.
Yes, but typically they were religious symbols or extremely important archaeological finds.
Yeah.
So they tried not to move them once they were placed.
Yeah.
But this allowed, say, the Jaffa to guard the gate and shoot anyone who comes through. They have a huge warning.
Yeah.
The Stargate lights up and makes loud noises and vibrates when you're about to dial in.
Yeah, and then there's the flush. Shoots out. And then it's a natural choke point. So if you come through the gate and somebody's waiting for you and you don't know what's on the other side of the gate, that's a bad situation.
And you either have to immediately find cover. You're going from one setting to another in about 3 seconds. You're coming out,
Right.
and you are not prepared to fight. You are not in any position to defend yourself, even if your firearm's already up, even if you have your rifle pointed. You're not ready to defend yourself because you require about a full second to readjust to where you came from to where you're going.
And here is an interesting scene where they address why they couldn't get the gate to go to different places in the movie, which I think was a pretty intelligent way of getting around that limitation from the movie.
Yes, exactly. So they had other gate addresses, but they couldn't make them work because of the stellar drift. Makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Because it uses a coordinate system. The further away the coordinate, the more shift it has.
Right. And then they spell it out for the audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just like opens up the show to do pretty much anything they want.
And the way that they did it, where there's more symbols than is really ever used on the gate, is also brilliant.
Yeah, and then later they'll get even more addresses later in the show that were on the Cartouche Abydos as well. So they pretty much have like an endless supply of addresses.
I mean, your normal address is a 6 symbol. Then you have the 7 symbol for long range places. Then you have 8 symbols for other
outside the
galaxies.
galaxies. Yeah.
Then you have 1 9 symbol, which is somewhere in the universe.
Yeah.
And if you look right there, Kowalski, how he was holding his MP5, makes absolutely no sense. And what the Jaffa are doing are point shooting. They don't have any sights.
No, yeah.
They should not be shooting so accurately.
No, not when they're basically just using Kentucky windage.
Yeah,
And there's Apophis.
but they have complete superiority in terms of armor here.
Yeah.
You can also see a couple of the extras are just kind of moving their rifle back and forth to simulate recoil. Um, in this episode, they didn't have a big enough budget to get blanks. You see a couple of the key characters like Skara using blanks,
Yeah.
but they are relatively few and far between. He also does not know how to clear a rifle.
No. So there's Teal'c. When they left them the weapons, I mean, I guess they didn't train them like on these basic procedures.
Which would have taken them about 2 hours to do.
Yeah.
And you don't even need ammunition to use it.
No.
You just pick up a shell casing. Now you can simulate a casing that's, a failure to feed, failure to fire, failure to extract, failure to eject, all of these malfunctions. Even some of the less common ones like stovepipes and whatnot, you can train them with all of the expended munitions.
Yep. And there's Freddy. He's wounded. He's bleeding badly, but he remembers the gate address, which is impressive. That's pretty impressive.
It's also impressive that none of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Jaffa that are there noticed this unkilled person watching them leave.
Yep, that's another good point.
Because where was... Oh, and look at all the survivors, huh?
Yep, I guess they didn't care. They were hiding. They got what they wanted and they left. Which that's kind of in character for the gold.
Yes and no. So in a case like this, where you had a populace that determined that they were going to fight, they would have killed everybody. We see them do this elsewhere. But the fact that there were survivors shows me that the Goa'uld are very, very poor at their jobs in this in this particular case. Same with the Jaffa.
Yep, yeah. I mean, I guess they did what they needed to do.
They left people alive so they could further the plot.
Yeah. See, Daniel just said he should have left the barrier up, or the barricade up.
Yep.
He never says why he took it down in the first place. So that's a bit of a problem for me.
I agree.
And Sam took video recordings of all the addresses in the map room.
Which is smart.
Yep.
And this was written at a time when new archaeological techniques were being produced. So it became common practice in about the 90s when you had the rise of hand camcorders and whatnot, to actually record the ruins as you walk through them, or as you uncover something, you record it. And that's something that's used by modern archaeologists too, quite frequently, where they will video something, and they'll take still images of it as well, or they'll pull the still images from the video.
Yeah, now he's gonna have them bury it again. Why did he unbury it in the first place? I guess for this show to happen. So
Plot armor.
Yeah, it's a contrivance for the show. I guess I wish they would have addressed it though, because they could have said something.
I agree, and the entire attack on the gate room was a example of poor planning. They had advanced warning. They had enough to set up basic sectors of fire, determine where the enemy is going to move when they come through. They're moving to the
Yeah.
first covered and concealed position.
Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind that the Abadonians, they're not trained soldiers. When they see the Jaffa come through the gate, they're gonna scatter, and they're just gonna. So I kind of understand that. Like they're not gonna hold their ground when the staff weapons.
There were trained soldiers. These trained soldiers should have been able to immediately do that.
Yeah, the airmen should have. Yeah, I don't.
The Abadonians were just militia. They were kind of
Yeah,
just extras there to just add more gunfire and tension and
yeah.
more everything. But now all of these Abadonians are trapped on Earth for the next year. Because we saw a couple of them come through the gate.
Oh, did we?
We saw 2 or 3 of them come through the gate. And they
Oh, I
ran
didn't
off
notice.
the ramp in the scene, and they were wearing the whites of the Abadonians.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess they get to join the 20th century. So yeah, that's good for them. Oh, and our first introduction between Hammond and Jackson.
And you can understand exactly where Hammond is coming from in this case.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's got a unknown civilian.
And he just lost 4 men.
Yeah.
He lost 4 men, and this random civilian comes up to him and demands to go on the next mission.
Yep. All right. This is a cool set. It kind of doesn't really match the exterior that we'll see in a little bit, but it's looking to go. Oh no, Shari. Yeah, don't die like a fool.
Exactly. Teal'c makes a lot of good points, and you can start to see his little seeds of doubt that he has in the
Oh
Goa'uld.
yeah, he keeps them very controlled, but it's gonna start to slip. Like his just utter contempt for the Goa'uld system is gonna show like
Pretty
pretty
soon.
well. Like he still holds it under control. Like he doesn't go like over the top with it, but you'll definitely be able to see it. And I love that about Christopher Judge's performance. He does a really good job in this episode. And this is a good, nice military brotherhood
Moment.
moment. Yeah, where he's gonna stay by his buddy's side. Yeah, what are we gonna do with Daniel?
And you see how soft those two are. That interaction was. Because Jack had that respect for Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice character moment. This whole scene is really. And this whole scene is basically just about character, just about a little bit of a little bit of exposition, but mostly just a character moment between the two.
Yes, that is true. And you see character development already from when Jackson was on Abydos to now.
Yep. And we get a bit of an idea of why he's, so desperate to get her back, like how he feels for her.
And it feels like he has known her for that all of that year.
Yeah.
And not just known her, but actually loved her. That's a good line right there.
Yeah, and now we get a little line about what happened to his wife, because his wife was in the movie, and we don't really see her. We see her maybe like one or two times in the show, and we just kind of get her out of the way because really she's not really necessary.
She was not something that added to the story.
No, there's this like tragedy, like this deep tragedy that happened to him before even the movie. I think they show flashbacks about what happened to his son in the movie, but
They show bare bones flashbacks. In this show, they go more in depth.
yeah. Yeah, there'll basically be an entire episode devoted to him kind of like resolving the issues with his son later on in season 1.
Yes.
There he is. And Apollo's harem. They
Yup.
look like they're pretty comfortable. Although they're not going to be in a little while. Certainly she's not.
No, she most definitely would not.
She's still wearing her dog tags though.
Which is impressive. There's actually studies that show that soldiers and airmen in a situation where they are captured form an attachment with the dog tags, and actually removing them makes it easier to break them.
Oh wow.
And here's the nudity scene.
No, this is the we don't really get to see any of her.
Yes, we do.
Nudity. Sharae, I think just a bare back, really. With Sharae, we get to see everything.
Oh, nope, you're right.
There's Teal already like showing, just letting you know, he's slowly letting that emotion break through as kind of a prelude to what's going to happen toward the end of the episode.
And that music score just builds in intensity.
Yep.
And it ramps up the viewing experience for those who are viewing it.
And then we get our first real reveal of the Goa'uld. Look at that. That's actually it still holds up pretty well.
Yes. But here it looks like it's almost pleasurable. And in other parts of the show, we see that it's very painful for a Goa'uld to come out of a Jafa's birthing sac.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of inconsistent writing here.
Where they're still kind of figuring things out.
And she was not liked by the Goa'uld, so she's killed by Apophis.
Yep. So you just
No regard for human life.
yeah. Look at him. Look at his face. Like it's just seething in him, and it's gonna build. And like the looks he gives later in the episode, where he's just had enough, where he's just like, I'm done with it. It's kind of heartbreaking, really.
Yes. I feel very bad for the things that Teal'c was forced to do.
And yeah, and later we'll find out like why he did that, why he went through all of that, because he's had these feelings for years, and he's just been stuck because he's had nothing else, no other choices he can do. But
There is nothing that he can do about it. There is nowhere he can go. He can fight or he can die.
and then his family will die too.
Oh yeah, everybody that he's ever known, cared about, loved, they will all die to prevent further rebellion of the Jaffa.
And here they're kind of figuring out that Ra wasn't the last of his race. They're probably more because they I think they pretty much stated in the movie that he was the last of his kind.
Yes, they did.
And his alien form looked completely different.
And then here they're like, hey, well, maybe we were wrong. And it turns out they were. Which is actually, I respect that in a show that is willing to say, hey, we were wrong.
Yeah. And Hammond is completely right at what he's saying at the moment. Like they really they have no idea like what they're doing. But Sam is also kind of right too.
Oh, yeah. Sam is absolutely right here. But at the same time, they are taking a big, big risk for almost nothing.
Definitely.
There's almost no reward right now.
Yeah, because the mission they're going on is just information gathering. That's really it.
Yep, to draw a parallel of what's happening in our in-universe story in Sci-Fi Navigator, it's what the Ranger's doing right now. The Ranger's going to the cigar sector to gather intel. That's all these guys are doing.
Yeah. And Hammond also kind of has a point. Like he's really the only one who knows like the gold language and things like that. So if he does go on a mission and he gets shot, like they lose a lot of his knowledge. And of
Yeah.
course, he's the one who figured out how to work the gate in the first place.
Which is kind of strange, figuring that they had scientists and physicists working on it who couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But Dr. Jackson used logical fallacies and emotional arguments to weasel his way on SG-1. Which is something
he basically just appeals to emotions, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's in rough shape, but he still knows all the symbols for the address, so that's impressive.
Yeah, extremely impressive. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
I wouldn't either.
I already forgot what the last symbol was.
Yep. And there it is. I love the corridor sets, like the ribbing there. It just looks solid.
Yup, it's
The reinforced concrete. It's supposed to be basically.
it screams that this is a robust facility
Yeah,
vibe.
it tells a story. What good sets do.
Yes.
It feels utilitarian, like it's grungy and it's bare bones.
Later we see them actually improve the set as well.
Yeah.
Where the facility starts looking better, it has more decorations, it starts looking like it's lived in.
Yeah, because at the moment right now, this is basically the basement of NORAD that no one really goes down until they reactivated the gate.
Exactly.
Kowalski the Weasel. I still don't like him.
I actually like Kowalski, and
Or
here's
no,
the
not
melt.
Kowalski. Samuels is what I meant. I like Kowalski. Samuels is what I meant. Samuels is the Weasel.
Yeah, I don't like Samuels at first. I like him later on in the show.
Oh no, he's still always a Weasel. I'm telling you, he's gonna be a Weasel for as long as he's on the show.
See, there we go. They all got thrown out.
Yep.
They
Yeah, heaved out.
contusions, broken ribs. That's what we would expect to see from that. The mission would be done.
Yeah. But I like that they actually address it later on when they stop doing that, when they just, kind of walk through, they explain that they figured out how to use the gate better.
Yeah.
I like how their little mule there is off
And they had a
kilter.
little accident.
And this is a nice location. I like the stones.
All filmed
Somewhere in
in
Canada.
Canada.
Yep. And then pops his harem again. And Jackson being the science geek.
Yes, and getting it completely wrong.
Oh no, I don't necessarily know if he is completely wrong because later in the episode there's going to be like priests or whatever that
But the gate
kind of
is
think of
not
them
the
as
point
gods.
of their religion. The gate is a part of it.
No, no, no. The gate is kind of a religious point because the people who come through the gate, only
Yes.
the gods come through the gate, which is why
But
it's a holy place.
he said that they are worshiping the gate, and that is false.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
I guess I missed that. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because later on that gets clarified that they worship the people who come out of the gate. Ooh, there's some spunk.
And this is where we see nudity. So,
Yeah,
warning.
this is a scene right here, which is completely unneeded. It's really jarring compared to the rest of the show because the rest of the show is pretty much family friendly. But I guess Showtime insisted on this because
This was a very shocking scene when it first came out.
yeah,
It showed the brutality and the ruthlessness of the Jaffa and the Goa'uld.
yeah. Well, it's the utter
Contempt.
contempt. Yeah, it's like they don't regard the Jaffa or humans or anything like that as anything more than a means to an end. They're just
They're meat.
because they'll even call them vessels. They just call them vessels or hosts later.
And we see Apophis talking to a newborn Goa'uld.
Yep.
As if he's known her his entire life.
Well, the Goa'uld have genetic memory, so
They do have genetic
they have-
memory. But this is a new Goa'uld with a new personality.
Oh, look at that look on his face.
He's ready to pop right now.
Yeah, he's just hates what he sees. Like he's so good in this episode.
His acting is on point.
Yep. But it's not over the top enough to like give himself away though. Like he's very restrained, but
Exactly.
he can't restrain it. Like he's gotten to the point where he just can't hold it in anymore.
He can't conceal it anymore.
Yep. or he's absolutely disgusted.
And this is actually one of the few times that this level of screaming is appropriate. The amount of pain that she would be in currently is astronomical.
Yeah, and I like later in the series that they actually say why they go in through the back of the neck like that, because they don't want the memory of their host screaming in horror while they enter,
Yes.
which I think is it's a nice bit of lore.
I agree with that. It's definitely a nice bit of lore, but it's inconsistent with the Goa'uld. They like screaming. They like the pain. They like inflicting terrible things on other people because they are pure evil.
Well, they do, but not on their hosts though.
That
Not
is
on
true.
their on their vessels. Because they specifically pick their vessels. Like they go for like the best specimens, like the like beautiful people and stuff like that, to basically infect, to take over. So they don't want to have that. They, like anytime they look in the mirror, they don't want to be reminded of that memory of their host just screaming in terror.
Yeah, that's fair. You might want to just cut that part out. And here we see the first interaction with priests.
Yep.
And we see how religious this organization actually is, the Jaffa. And they think that Daniel Jackson is a god.
Yeah, because he went through the Shabbat.
Even though later we see that it isn't such a big deal.
I guess it depends on the Jaffa,
Yes.
really. and O'Neill's just like, I don't care. Enough of your science crap.
Well, that would be linguistics, but same thing, really.
Yeah. I'm saying he just thinks they're all like geeks and stuff like that. Chulak. So Chulak, we're gonna learn is the name of the planet, but it kind of feels like Chulak is like the name of the village that they're going to,
Yeah,
but later it becomes the name of the planet.
it's the name of the planet, and they don't ever go into the name of the village because it is
No, he's
also the
he's pointing
village.
at the village and saying Chulak. So it kind of seems like they're saying
It's
that
both the name of the village and the planet.
I suppose it could be. I suppose it could be.
They actually go into that in the actual lore. It's it's confusing because they never overtly state the village name, but they never overtly state the planet name either. So it's just Chulak, and so all of it became Chulak.
And the exterior shots we just saw are they look very like Greek or Roman like, which doesn't fit the like the
Egyptian.
dungeon scenes, yeah, and the Egyptians as well. Like it doesn't really fit with that aesthetic, like the Egyptian mythology, and it doesn't really fit with the interior of the sets. But this scene or this set here, this kind of like banquet hall set or whatever, does kind of fit, and they're all kind of like wearing like toga like outfits and stuff like that. Not togas, but like toga like.
This is the high society.
Yep. What do you suppose they're eating here?
Local fruits, it looks like local meat.
Some kind of weird animal.
Exactly.
Definitely not chicken. That's for sure.
Yeah, they probably didn't have dinosaurs that evolved on their planets.
And then, what do you suppose would happen if Daniel hadn't like rushed when he saw Shari? Would Apophis have just ignored
Oh,
SG-1?
absolutely.
Look at her hat. That's a piece of headgear there.
Yep.
Oh no, she's been taken. Any of these primitive people, they totally would have bought that's magic. Like they're gods, they could do magical things.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at even some of the simplest things that they have, flashlights, for instance, the people of Chulak are technologically backwards, other than the warriors. They don't even have electricity. They have torches and barely running water.
And of course, the Go will do that on purpose.
Yo, of course. So if they
They
see something
they
like a lighter or a flashlight, it's magic to them.
with the exception of the Jaffa, the warrior Jaffa.
Yep, they have higher levels of technology, but look, there's torches here, which is generally a bad idea to give prisoners fire.
Yeah, I suppose, but really, what are they going to do with them?
Well, most dungeons were complete darkness.
This kind of looks like a more like a medieval dungeon set, like a castle or something like that.
Yeah, they have torches here to further the plot. Normally, they would never have a torch.
Yeah, well, because it needs lighting, they need to be able to see.
And if you look at it, Teal'c's amazed there by something so simple as a G-Shock watch.
Yep. He's like he's figuring that he may have a way out after all. And that's good because obviously he wouldn't understand Earth.
Yep.
Like he would know the gate symbols, but he wouldn't know anything about Earth.
And it's interesting because here we see the first piece of defiance from him, where he removes the marking so nobody else can see it.
Right?
And there's a nice cliche.
Yep. But that's loyalty to
All they would have to
his
do
colonel.
is dial back in and say, hey, we're going to need a bit more time. Done and done. And General Hammond would either say yes or no. And more than likely, he would say yes.
Maybe.
Because all that was stated was you have to dial back in at a certain time.
No, he says they have to return or
Oh, okay.
their codes would be rescinded. Yeah.
I like how Daniel brings up the Book of the Dead. It is a very good touch. Had he made his decision to fight sooner,
Yep.
Shari would still have been taken, but what's this guy's name again? Never mind. I won't
The
make
kid,
that point. Yeah,
Skyra.
yeah. Thank you.
Hmm.
Interesting on how we figured out the naming of the title of this episode.
Yeah, we get the title of the episode name dropped. And that's like a very comfortable carrying mechanism for him. He can just lounge around.
At the same time, it would be quite bumpy because humans aren't exactly good shock absorbers.
I suppose so, yeah. Oh no! What are you doing? Why are you trying to rush her again? That didn't work for you the last time.
It's not going to work this time.
I guess he's just like emotional. He's just like, he's not thinking logically at the moment, though.
I don't know why they have people go through the crowd and make people kneel. You have staff weapons.
That's a good point.
Execute those who defy you because you're going to kill them all anyway in the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of what they will do in later episodes. Cause they really have no compunction with murdering them anyways. Yeah, like you said, Apophis is gonna order them all dead anyway. But at least he doesn't want them killed right now, because he doesn't want maybe a potential vessel to be killed.
That's fair. And they never went into why the children of the gods are chosen.
No, they didn't.
Because we already know that loyalties among the Goa will shift quite rapidly,
Yep.
even among family.
Don't do it. Oh, and he's just like, no, you can't.
Yep, and I like how Teal'c is kind of like the person in the back corner giving the person who's answering a teacher's question the answer.
Yeah, and it's just the subtle little movement. He's like, no.
Nope. But it carries such weight.
Yeah. Oh no. And this is just the breaking point for Teal'c. Like this is where he's like crossing line where he can't keep going.
I don't understand why they use staff weapons here. I will be completely honest. We see that it takes 2 blasts to go through the wall.
Oh, look at it! Look at his face! Look at Teal'c's face.
You can see here that he's gonna do it, but he doesn't want to. Every fiber of his being is saying, this is wrong.
Yeah, like he's just waiting. He was just waiting for something like that to happen. You can tell.
And there it is.
Boom. Yep.
Now, he would have been dead before he got that staff out of his hand. They are moving and reacting too slow to the Jaffa, who would have immediately killed them. They should be dead, period.
Yeah. But then we wouldn't have a show. It was a cool scene though. If you hadn't seen the show before, it would have been like an oh shit moment.
Yep. But at the same time, if this had actually happened, the Jaffa would have killed the people who are a threat first.
Yep.
Instead of just mindlessly carrying on with the civilians who weren't doing anything other than standing there and were easy targets anyway.
Yep. And then just tossing away his uniform. He's just like, It's over. It's time to go.
That is such a telling, emotional scene right there,
Yeah.
where he realizes what he's done.
Yeah, he really like it's sunk in that he has nothing left. But O'Neill gives him a new purpose. So he goes back into warrior mode. And that was some damn loyalty from O'Neill. Where he's like, this dude I just met.
He helped me, I'm
You
gonna
could
help
stay
him.
yeah. Yeah. And just the bond they form
So quickly.
throughout the show. Nice.
Very telling. But most people know what a Goa'uld is, and most people knew what a Jaffa was.
Yep. Yeah. So that's quite an incentive
To keep it.
to carry one, yeah. Because yeah, eventually the girl like takes over their complete immune system. So
And as soon as they carry one to maturity, they get a new one as a reward.
yep,
And then they will get extra benefits as well for carrying one to maturity.
and this big ship here, it's like kind of like a big death glider. We never see that again. Is kind of weird. They actually replaced it in the final cut with a
Telmic tech.
with a different one. Yeah,
They used the heavy bomber for the transport as
yep.
well.
A mid-range bomber. I forget what it's called at the moment. This is annoying. And this battle coming up compared to like later, like the battle of the Supergate, it's so quaint. It's like a schoolyard brawl, basically.
I mean, not even that. We don't see anybody die in this.
We do. We see a couple people.
I mean, from the Death Glider.
Yeah.
No one died from the Death Glider. But here we see what they're actually capable of. No ship or aircraft that we have could ever do that.
No.
But they have complete air power. We see here the limitations of their weapons. They're designed for intimidation and fear, and not for warfare.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're only really for attacking like primitive people.
And the bright, flashy colors, well, yeah, it's scary. If
Yep.
you could be as scary as you want, if you can't back it up, there's no point.
Yep.
Which is why eventually you start seeing the Jaffa taking shipments of P90s.
Oh yeah, because they get it. There's a brilliant demonstration actually done by Sam
O'Neill.
later on in the series.
O'Neill and Sam.
Yep. where they because the Jaffa don't consider the P90s real weapons. They only consider staff weapons real weapons because that's what's been drilled into their heads for so long.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons we're SG-1's so effective because the Jaffa underestimate their weapons and their technology. And see that there was a air-to-air missile, simple air-to-air missile, dropped it.
Yeah, and I mean, their technology isn't that advanced, it seems like here. We don't see a ton of their super advanced tech until later.
Yep.
But I mean, it's the same with the Wraith.
Yep.
Who arguably are even worse than the
Jaffa
yeah. At using intimidation tactics instead of fear. They have a good reason. Humans are their food source.
Right.
You kill a human, you don't get to eat them.
Of course, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yes. Why stop?
Go. Oh no.
You have ranged weapons.
That's not very tactical, Colonel.
No use of cover.
He's just reacting on emotions now. He's just like, Scar. And then there's the ultimate betrayal when he finds out, oh, he's now Goa'uld.
And we would expect multiple broken ribs there from that shove. That takes a lot of force. He was basically hit by a car going about 25 miles an hour there.
Yeah, that was a rough hit.
And he just stands right back up. He would be unconscious right now.
I don't know, maybe it's adrenaline.
That was a good 10-foot shove.
Yep. Yeah, Samuels, you Weasley bastard.
To be fair, he is following out the general's orders to the letter here.
Yeah, he is.
And he respected the general when he said, "In a minute, Major," which isn't something we would expect to see from a weasel.
He's still a Weasley bastard, though.
Oh, he's an asshole. I will agree with you there, but I don't think he's as bad as everybody makes him out to be.
Got the gate open. Yeah, and this time opening the gate, this like basically this first time, like takes them a while to do it. They get a lot better at dialing the gate as they go along, because in later episodes they just boom, 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 done. Why are you just standing on the ridge like that?
It's a very poor idea because now he's silhouetted. You could just take...
Yeah, now he's getting down.
Still a poor place. The best thing to do here would be a reverse slope defense, where you have the claymore set up in a staggered line running down the hill. Once they get on top and you detonate the first few, they are going to have to either keep going or retreat. But because of the slope, it's harder for them to stop. And then you dig in along the bottom of the reverse slope, so you still have the cover of the slope.
Yep.
And you can still fire upwards, but they can't really decline enough. They don't have enough declination to fire into you.
We're getting good shots at him, though.
They're coming in very close. And here we see Teal'c going to defend them. Very good use of cover and the secondary position. It's a little bit too close to the gate. You're trying to stop a threat. You want to be as close to that threat as possible. You don't want to
Yeah.
be by the gate. You are trying to get everybody else in a position where they can cover your retreat back.
There's Walter.
While you are going to be closer to your enemy, your troops are going to be closer to you. There's less that they have to run through to make it to a covered concealed position. Then you will have more cover as you retreat. And here we see them start to retreat. And we see that they pick the furthest positions. Smart choice.
They didn't have any kind of like buddy suppressing fire though, which they probably should have. Like one of them should have like taken cover to give suppressing fire for the other one to move up.
Absolutely, but that's where Jack and Teal came in.
I suppose though, yeah.
That asshole-ish line is very telling, and it is very good that he said that. Because you get that he trusts Sam.
Hey, the claymores, those are proper claymore detonators too.
Yes, they are. And here we see what they did with what I was saying, where they put a second row of claymores further down the slope. But it wasn't far enough down. They didn't have enough people. So here we see the first casualties. We see none that were caused by the aircraft.
And then Kowalski is spraying and praying right now.
Yep, and we're seeing that the Jaffa are just dying here. There's no protection from their armor, which is completely inconsistent with what we were seeing earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we see this caveman guy just throwing rocks. What the fuck are you trying to do here?
Yeah, I don't know. He's just doing whatever he can, I guess. Get out of here.
And later we're going to see him crush a Jaffa.
Yes, yeah, which is
Such
seem
a
likely.
impressive show of strength that it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, no, it's like it's like he's trying to like lift a car off of his daughter or something like that. The amount of like adrenaline strength it would take to do that. Yeah, this guy right here.
That is solid metal.
Yeah, and he basically just crushes him. And then this is of course where
the infant go all
where
old.
Kowalski meets his fate. Which we will pick that up later. It's interesting because they cut that out in the Final Cut version, which cuts out the awkward caveman crushing the Jaffa, and you really don't need it anyway because it kind of comes out in the second episode anyway. So I don't really miss it. I don't think it would really be any kind of like jarring if someone didn't watch this because basically he says exactly what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's unneeded, really.
And the iris is cool. It's very fancy also.
And it is a very good design.
Yep. And it's something that you would want to. You don't want just anyone to be able to
waltz
open up
your gate.
Your gate like that, yeah.
I have to say, I like Atlantis' design better.
Oh, with the force field?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, something one of the medics says here, we have to help these people, please. You don't hear that in the military. You don't hear that in EMS.
No.
Instead of that, you're going to hear, grab me the bandage. We need to irrigate this. Get an IV started. This solution, this drug, let's push 150 milliliters or 150 cc's or whatever you're trying to get into them. And you're also going to see them start to prioritize people who are wounded. The people who are not going to survive, will not get medical treatment until those who will have gotten it.
Mm-hmm. This is some loyalty here. This is a good moment. We want him to join SG-1. Yeah, and this is good that like he doesn't immediately join the team. Like he has to prove himself. He has to earn his right to be on the team, which I like quite a bit
I do too.
in the second episode.
He led one of the most damning attacks on the U.S. Air Force, and then all of a sudden just flips a switch.
Yep.
"7:30 a.m. for those who don't know military
7:30.
time.
Yep. Probably the next morning, I guess, depending on what time it is right now.
It would be the next morning. Because the mission was at 0800 today.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be like 10 or 11 now.
Yep.
We get a little bit of the premise because it's gonna be an ongoing search for Skara and Share.
And a good bit of foreshadowing right about here.
Yep. There's Kowalski. We're definitely gonna pick that up in the next episode. And that is the end of Children of the Gods. We hope you enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you, Fo?
Definitely one of the better episodes in this series. Despite all of the poor choices that they made in the cinematography and tactics and way that they did certain things, it's a very good show. If you can get past if you can suspend the disbelief, oh, that's really how they're doing that type of mentality.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's one of my favorite episodes. It is very good for a pilot episode, though.
Yes, this is one of the better pilot episodes of just about any show.
But yeah, with that, I think we're gonna close it out for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Leave us any comments in the comments section below, and join us for episode 2.
Thank you very much. Make sure you guys have a good day. And make sure you leave a like and comment. Subscribe to Prime Red.
Excellent. We'll see you guys later.